Okay, hello, Algebra 2 students. This is Mr. Myers, and I'm going to go over the sum of cubes identity and the difference of cubes identity. I know I did this yesterday just before we take the assessment, but I want to make sure you understand how to do it. First of all, I want to write out the identity for you. So to do that, let me move that up there so that I can get to my pens. The sum of cubes identity is very simple. What we want to do is look at what the identity says. It says that if you have a perfect square, a perfect cubed coefficient in front of a perfect cubed variable, adding to it a perfect cube, you can rewrite this as the the product of a times x. And remember, 1 is a perfect cube. So oftentimes you'll have 1 as your coefficient of x, but that's a perfect cube because the cube root of 1 is still just 1, plus b all times a squared. So if a is 1, it'll just be 1, and you don't need to put a 1 in front of an x. It's always implied if there is no coefficient. It's implied that it's 1. X squared minus a times b times x plus b squared. Okay, that's the identity. Now here's an actual problem that we can work on. And this is really quick and easy. You should be able to get this. Now, the first thing you have to do is recognize the cubes. And as I always tell my Algebra 1 students, you should memorize the perfect squares at least up until 20. I really think you should memorize them up to 20. You should learn the perfect cubes at least up to 10. So no 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, 4 cube, because you'll see them a lot in math. Usually we don't go above 10 cube, but and you can always use a calculator if you get past that. But recognize those perfect cubes. 64 is a perfect cube of 4. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. Okay. Now that we know that we have the sum of cubes here, we're going to use the identity. So a right here is going to be 4, because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. We just want the cube root of 64. We want the cube root of x to the third, which is just x. The cube root of 216 is 6. Okay, that's your first factor. Your second factor is going to be a squared. So remember, our a is 4, so 4 squared is 16. Then you want the x squared. And this is key right here. This is subtraction. Notice that when you have the sum of cubes, the binomial has the addition sign. The trinomial is going to have the subtraction sign. And the subtraction sign goes on the middle term. So a is 4. B is 6. So we're going to make that 4 times 6 times x, and then b squared is 36. Okay, I just need to multiply it here, and I am done. So the factoring goes like this. 4x plus 6 times 16x squared minus 24x plus 36. Now, if you need to factor this again, you can use your other factoring techniques, such as because this has an a that's bigger than 1, our x with that line across. You can try to factor it that way to see if it factors cleanly like that. I actually noticed that all of the coefficients and the constant number itself all have a common factor that can be factored out. That might make it easier. But in the case of our assessment, all you need to do is take the sum of cubes or the difference of cubes and break it into 2 factors, and you are in good shape. Okay, so that's the sum of cubes. The difference of cubes is not much different. Once again, I have 8 here, which is the cube of 2, and 125, which is the cube of 5, and I'm going to be subtracting it this time. The identity looks almost the same as the sum of cubes. The difference is when you have a cubed times x cubed minus b cubed, have that. What we're going to do is now we're going to have a times x minus b all times a squared x squared plus a b x plus b squared. Notice the only difference is right here. These switched sides. When you have the sum of cubes, you're going to have an addition sign inside the binomial, and you're going to have a subtraction sign inside the trinomial. When you have the difference of cubes, you're going to have subtraction inside the binomial and addition inside the trinomial. And the easy way to remember that is whatever sign you're starting with is going to be the sign that goes into the binomial. Hopefully that's pretty easy. So when we go back over here to solve this one, we are going to get 2x minus 5 times 4x squared plus 2 times 5 times x plus 25. Okay, and then to finish it off, we're just going to do that math right there. So our final answer would be 2x minus 5 times 4x squared plus 10x plus 25. And you have now factored using the difference of cubes identity, or if you have addition, you can use the sum of cubes identity. Hope that helps. I hope that helps clarify how to use that. And good luck on your assessment, and we'll see you in class.